So thank you very much again for joining. This is the first of several Grantee Manual webinars that we're going to be delivering. Today's course specifically focuses on the first sections of the Grantee Manual. And before we proceed, I want to make sure that you all have received the Grantee Manual that we sent you both on Friday, and I think it was resent today by Christine and my team. So I want to make sure that you have that. The 2022 Grantee Manual, it's composed of 14 different sections, and today we'll be covering the first three sections of the manual. In the next few weeks, we're going to be covering the rest of the sections of the manual. And it's also very, very important that you and the staff that are required to attend these courses. One of the key things about these webinars is that we're going to be covering not only the guidance that is included in the manual, meaning what the requirements are for the implementation of your programs, but also recommendations and tools that we have created for you to use in your program. At the same time, in the next few weeks, you're going to be attending several courses related to the technology that needs to be used to report real-time your information to Illinois Works. I'm Norman Ruano, and I'm the Deputy Director of Illinois Works, and I'll be the facilitator today. Dr. Gia Suggs is with me today. She's a training specialist with Northern Illinois University, and she's going to be assisting. So Gia, please say hi to our participants today.
Hi, everyone. Welcome. I had a chance to meet some of you all during the last training, so glad to be reconnecting with you all today, and welcome.
Great. Thank you, Gia. We also have Christine Flynn, who is with the grant manager with Illinois Works. Christine, if you could please say hi to our participants today.
Hello, everyone. I'm very excited to be here.
Thank you very much, Christine. As we have mentioned before, Illinois Works was created as a result of Governor Pritzker's historic $45 billion capital plan and his commitment to expand equity in the Illinois construction workforce. And as an Illinois Works grantee, you are now part of the initiative to create opportunities for Illinois businesses, communities, and families. Illinois Works consists of three different programs. We have already implemented the Illinois Works Apprenticeship Initiative. In this program, the Illinois Works Pre-Apprenticeship program is the second program we're implementing as part of the Illinois Works portfolio. We are in the process of implementing the third program, which is the Illinois Works Bid Credit Program, and we will be talking about those programs in a few minutes. As I mentioned, there will be three different webinars that we're going to be delivering in the next few weeks, where we're going to cover the Grantee Manual, the 2022 Grantee Manual. And that Grantee Manual is very important for each of the programs because, as I mentioned earlier, it provides the guidance and also recommendations on how to implement the program. However, today's webinar, which is the first one in the series, will cover the following three sections of the manual. The first section is Introduction to Illinois Works, so we're going to go over what Illinois Works is and how it works with the other programs that we're implementing, how they work together as part of our unique workforce development model. The second section of the manual covers program culture, and this is going to be very important because we're going to be discussing two or three very important models that we have designed in order to implement this program, the Pre-Apprenticeship program. And then the last section we're going to cover today is Section 3, which addresses partnerships, provider relationships, and leverage resources. So those are the three sections of the manual we're going to be covering today. I would really appreciate if you would pull the provider manual we sent you, the three sections of the provider manual we sent you, and if you would have it handy, that would be great. I will be directly referencing those as we go along. In terms of the course objectives for today, by the end of this training, you will be able to describe the relationship between DCEO and Illinois Works, identify the Illinois Works 3 key programs we're implementing. You will also be able to reference key Illinois Works definitions that are included in the Grantee Manual. You'll be able to articulate the Illinois Works program core values, measure cultural elements using a variety of tools. You'll also be able to incorporate diversity, inclusion, belonging, and equity into your program. The IBE, which is one of the models that we created that will be required as part of the implementation of this program. You'll also be able to comply with legal expectations, explain the critical role of partners, differentiate between partners and providers, implement an MOU, and overcome barriers to successful partnerships. Those are the objectives that we have for today's course. Please note that this webinar is being recorded and that we're going to make it available to you via our new Illinois Works Partner Guide website. Gia, if possible, if you could please include the link in the chat so that they can access the Illinois Works Partner Guide website. One of the things that you will be learning about today, the first 2 hours of the webinar will be focused specifically on the Grantee Manual. The third hour will be Southern Illinois University, who's our partner in our technology. They will be walking you through this website, the Illinois Works Partner Guide website, and at the same time, they will be introducing our Illinois Works reporting system and giving you access to that. So you'll be able to get an idea there. So, Gia, we could please share the website, the link to the Illinois Works Partner Guide website. I would appreciate it. Let me know once we've done that so I can move on.
Hi, Christine. When you get a chance, can you drop that in the chat for me?
Okay, great. Are there any questions before we proceed to the next module in this course? If you do have any questions, please do not hesitate to ask them in the chat. And also, if you wish to, you can unmute yourself and ask the question verbally. Any questions in the chat, Gia?
There are no questions in the chat.
Okay, great. Probably a lot of us have already introduced each other through the orientation we did, but for those that are new into this course and into the audience, I would love for you to be able to do that. So in Module 2 of this course, we're going to do some welcoming and introductions. And we're also going to identify what you hope or expect to learn as part of this course. If you could please now, state your name and also your organization or agency and the role that you will be playing in your program in the chat, I would appreciate it so that we know who's present today. Again, your name, the organization or agency you represent, and also the role that you're going to be playing in the program.
And Norman, just to let you know, while the participants are dropping that into the chat, Christine shared the Illinois Works Partner Guide link.
Great. So the Illinois Works Partner Guide link is already in the chat. Please make sure that you save that. That's going to be a very important resource for you moving forward. All the information related to Illinois Works and its implementation, guidance, and documents will be included there, including all the recordings of training that we do throughout the year. Great. So we have Jane with us with the Chicago Women in Trades. She's going to be doing program development and oversight. Katrina with Quad County Urban League, Manager of Workforce Development, is here today. Lynn with MSW, Student Intern at Lumity. We also have Sealy from CYDI Program Coordinator. Anybody else in the chat? We have Debbie, also Program and Grant Coordinator from Workforce Investment Solutions, with us today. Thanks for joining. We have Donna, from Program Manager from Bethel Family Resource Center. Sandra from Chicago Women in Trades, Case Manager. We have Renee Jones, Chicago Women in Trades, Program Director. We also have Dominique from Tulsa Foundation. Thanks for joining us. We have Kashmir from Job Development Manager from Youthville Lake County. We have Quincy from Workforce Development Solutions, Implementation Manager. Don't know the organization, but Chris from Illinois Foundation of Skills USA, VICA, Program Director. We have Molly, Revolution Workshop Associate Director. Charliza, Lumity Director. Mike from Hire 360, Senior Policy Manager. We also have Taniki Singleton. Don't know where from, but welcome, Taniki. We have Metropolitan Family Services. We have Mia from Hire 360, Manager of Training. Safer Foundation, Taniki, thanks for clarifying that. Appreciate it. Ms. Watkins from Tulsa Foundation also. Anybody else? We appreciate you joining us. Thank you very much. It's very important as we move forward for us to introduce the technology we're going to be using. So if you could please go to www.menti.com and enter the code that you see on your screen, 69157309. We're going to be using this technology to get your responses as we go through all the activities that we have in the course. If you wouldn't mind, again, either through your cell phone or your computer, go to www.menti.com and enter code 69157309 for us to be able to test the technology and make sure that it's working and we use it as we move forward. While you do that, we also have Roberta, Brittany, Jonathan with us, SGAF. Okay, great. If you've had an opportunity already to join Menti.com, let's do some testing here. If you could please answer through Menti the question on your screen. What excites you about the Illinois Works Pre-Apprenticeship program? What excites you about the Illinois Works Pre-Apprenticeship program? Use Menti to answer that question, and then we're going to be able to see your responses in the cloud through Menti. Great. Teaching, community, opportunity, success, careers, diversity, helping, advancement, change lives, meaningful support, equity, collaboration. Great. You are definitely providing great feedback here and participating. Understanding, candidate certification, new program concept, definitely is a new program concept. Future, careers. Careers are very important, not just the job, but careers. The possibility, prosperity, certainly prosperity for people and their families and communities. Growing diversity, Definitely. That's the main goal of Illinois Works, is to bring equity and inclusion to the construction industry. Structure. We certainly are very excited about being able to provide some structure to our pre-apprenticeship programs. Advancement, yes. Those are all great responses. I appreciate you participating. Moving on to the next question. Is there anything in particular you're hoping we covered today? Is there anything in particular you hope that we covered today, keeping in mind that we're covering the first 3 sections of the Grantee Manual? If you could please use Mentimeter to respond to that question. Anything in particular you're hoping that we covered today? Reporting. Someone's mentioned that they're interested in knowing more about reporting. We will certainly address some of that today, but we will also address that extensively in the next couple of modules next couple of webinars that we deliver. Expectations and reporting guidelines. We will again discuss that. Enrolling participants. Yes, we will certainly discuss that today. Success measurement, program expectations. We will definitely discuss that today. Procedures. How to use the system. Greater understanding of the process to service our clients. We will definitely do that. Reimbursement costs. Cash flow, assistance for salaries, timeline for enrolling participants, access to technical assistance. We will also talk about that. More in-depth overview of grant expectations and grant guidelines. We will get into that today. Now, some of these we'll be able to cover today, and some of the other ones we will be covering in the next webinars that are coming up, but we will definitely address those. If you have any comments, feedback, or questions after we have concluded this webinar, please do not hesitate to contact us at ceo.illinoisworks@illinois.gov, or send Christine an email or send me an email. I'll be more than happy to address any issues or concerns that you may have, or feedback. We'd love to hear your feedback. Before we move on to the next module and start discussing section 1 of the Grantee Manual, are there any questions or concerns? I have Rhonda saying that she cannot hear anything. Is there anybody else that is having any issues hearing anything? Or so far so good? Okay. Rhonda, if you could please send Christine an email and see if we can help you troubleshoot the issues that you're having. So far, nobody else is having any issues. Okay, great. So let's move on to our next module. Next module addresses DCEO at Illinois Works. If you open your Grantee Manual, you will notice that on page 3, Section 1 of the manual starts, and Section 1 is an introduction to Illinois Works. And this module specifically is going to articulate the mission of the Department of Commerce and Economic Opportunity, explain how the Illinois Works Jobs Program Act supports the governor's 5-year economic plan, and describe the benefits of apprenticeship programs. Again, please make sure that you do have a copy of the Illinois Works Grantee Manual, since that's what we're going to be covering going forward, and I want to make sure that you really have an opportunity to see where all of this information is, and if you have any questions or comments, please do not hesitate to ask them. So as I said, the first section of the manual is an introduction to Illinois Works. Let's start with that section. It's very important to understand that Illinois Works was created as a result of Governor Pritzker's historic $45 billion capital plan. As you may know, the state is investing in the next 4 or 5 years $45 billion in construction projects, schools, roads, bridges, hospitals, colleges, you name it. And it's called Rebuild Illinois. And at the same time, as a result of that plan and Governor Pritzker's commitment to expand equity in the Illinois construction workforce, Illinois Works came about. So Illinois Works is a top priority of the governor's 5-year economic plan. The capital funding that is being invested will generate thousands of jobs over the next decade, and the Illinois Works Jobs Program Act was intentionally designed to increase equity and opportunity in those capital construction projects. The intention here is not only to bring equity, but also to reinvigorate the workforce of Illinois in the construction industry for years to come. In order to access the Illinois Works, the plan, the Illinois Economic Plan, you can go to our website. If we could please go back to the previous slide, Gia. And if you go to our website, www.illinois.gov/DCEO, you could search for the Illinois Economic Plan and select Econ Plan 2019, and you're going to be able to find it there and read it. If you also want to just download it right now, we're going to give you an opportunity to download it from our screen. So we're going to transfer to you a PDF file that you could download. Just follow the instructions. When you see it on your screen, you can click on the document and download it, and then save it wherever you want on your desktop or a particular file where you want to save it. Just click on it again, the Econ Plan, and click on it and then download it into your computer if you're interested in doing so. I'm going to give you a minute to do that. Okay, great. Moving on. One important thing to mention about Illinois Works is that it's an innovative workforce development model. We have mentioned in other instances that the uniqueness about Illinois Works is that it has three key components. One is the creation of job demand. The second one is the creation of a diverse talent pipeline through the Pre-Apprenticeship program. And then the third one is incentives for contractors and subcontractors to hire and retain our graduates. Typically, workforce development models have one or two of these components, and that already creates a positive impact in the workforce. However, Illinois Works has all three components, and it creates a comprehensive response to workforce development from a variety of angles. So as a result, Illinois Works is a one-of-a-kind initiative, and it's in a very unique position to create a big difference in the workforce in the construction industry in the state of Illinois. Let us start by going deeper into the relationship between the Department of Commerce, the Office of Illinois Works, and the Illinois Works Job Programs Act. To learn more about DCEO, you can go to our website again, www.illinois.gov/DCEO. And there you could press on About Us, and you'll be able to learn more information not only about DCEO, but also the programs that we have at DCEO. So the Illinois Department of Commerce and Economic Opportunities mission is to support and maintain a climate that enables a strong economy for our customers. And our customers are taxpayers, businesses, workers, and communities. By keeping, attracting, and growing businesses, maintaining a skilled workforce, and enhancing communities so that the climate here is one in which businesses, small and large, and their workers can succeed to the greatest extent possible. That's the mission of the Illinois Department of Commerce and Economic Opportunity. We at DCEO deliver impactful and efficient programs and services. Using Mentimeter, let's answer the question on the screen. Who does DCEO serve? Who do we serve at DCEO based on the mission that I just outlined? Take a minute to answer that question using Mentimeter. Minorities, women. Who else do we serve? Anybody else? Youth, veterans, taxpayers. Students. Who else do we serve? Residents. As you continue to respond, thanks for participating. Our customers at DCEO include taxpayers, obviously. We respond to taxpayers. We also respond to businesses who are the employers, right? We also respond to workers, and we also respond to communities. All of our programs are geared toward serving these four populations, these four stakeholding communities: taxpayers, businesses, workers, and communities. From the website, you could also access the Illinois Works information. So if you go to our website, you will notice under About Us a link there for Illinois Works. If you click on that link, it will take you to information about the Illinois Works Office and also the Illinois Works Jobs Program Act, which is the state law that was passed in order to create Illinois Works and its programs. To the right of the website, you're going to be able to see links for the various programs that we're implementing, and at the same time, you have information on how to contact us. You can email us there. At the bottom of the page, you're going to find a virtual assistant where you could request and search for more information in case you need more information. So in terms of the Office of Illinois Works, the Office of Illinois Works is housed in the Department of Commerce and Economic Opportunity. It's a brand new office, brand new bureau, has been around for a little bit over a year now. And it's a top priority, as I mentioned earlier, of the governor's 5-year economic plan. Unfortunately, data shows that for way too long, the construction industry and the trades have not been accessible to diverse communities, with fewer than 10% of the best paid apprenticeships extended to women and racial and ethnic minorities in the state of Illinois. With the new capital funding that is being invested through Rebuild Illinois, we hope to pave the way for tens of thousands of jobs over the next decade. And as a result, the Illinois Works Jobs Program Act was intentionally designed to increase equity and opportunity in capital construction projects. The Illinois General Assembly passed the Illinois Works Jobs Program Act June 28th of 2019. And through this act, the General Assembly appropriated the funds for the Pre-Apprenticeship program, which is the program that you're part of. The Illinois Jobs Program Act is a statewide initiative to ensure that all Illinois residents, and again, all Illinois residents, have access to state capital projects and careers, including the construction industry and the trades. The goal is to provide contracting and employment opportunities to historically underrepresented populations in the construction industry. According to the Illinois Works Jobs Program Act, those underrepresented populations that we're targeting are women, people of color, and veterans. You can access the General Assembly's Job Program Act through the website. We'll be providing the website in the chat, but at the same time, we'll have an opportunity now for you to transfer, to download this document through our file transfer on the screen. So if you want a copy of the Illinois Works Jobs Program Act, you can access it right now through your screen. Download it, just click on the file and download it into your computer if you want to have a copy of it. So again, it's right now on your screen. You can just click on it, download it, save it on your computer, and you have a copy of the Illinois Works Jobs Program Act. Great. Thank you very much, Gia. Moving on to the next portion here, equity, data, and Illinois construction trades. Unfortunately, as I said, data shows that the construction industry and the trades have not been accessible for diverse communities, with less than 10% of the apprenticeships in the best paid trades extended to women and racial and ethnic minorities. So the goal here is to expand apprenticeship opportunities with the target focus on underrepresented populations, and again, specifically women, people of color, and veterans, as defined by the Illinois Works Jobs Program Act. An expansion of apprenticeship opportunities will not only help boost employment and wages for more Illinois residents, but will also yield significant benefits for our economy. Since the construction sector is projected to grow 12% in the next 10 years, that's very dynamic and significant growth, and we want to make sure that not only are there opportunities in that sector, but that there are opportunities that are equitable for all residents of the state of Illinois. On average, jobs in this sector, particularly for those that are apprentices, pay $18 per hour, and once those individuals complete their apprenticeship program and graduate, they receive on average $32 per hour. As you can see, those are significant wages, and also the wages come with significant benefits, fringe benefits that are paid by this industry and their employers. We know that by investing in construction training, we can have significant long-term economic impact for the state, totaling $1.2 billion. In fact, for every dollar invested in construction job training, Illinois obtains $11 in social and economic returns. So again, here, the benefit is not only for the employers, the residents that can enter the industry, but also for the state of Illinois in general. So the intention is to reinvigorate the workforce of Illinois for the future. So this exciting new initiative, Illinois Works, will create for Illinois' businesses, communities, and families great opportunities for years to come. Using Mentimeter, if you could please answer the question on your screen. How do apprenticeship programs impact individuals, families, communities, and businesses? So by expanding apprenticeship programs, how do we impact individuals? How do we impact families? How do we impact communities? How do we impact businesses? Providing equity, definitely. Higher wages for participants, yes, certainly. How else do we impact? Decent wage, let's see, increasing economics, providing equity, financial stability, growing knowledge, decent wage earners. How else do we impact individuals, families, communities, and businesses? Improve the economy, certainly. Increase skills, that is correct. Growing knowledge, that's very important. Apprenticeship programs are comprehensive, structured programs that provide skills and knowledge. Financial stability, that is great. Small business growth, that is also key. Small contractors can hire these apprentices and then grow and develop and have access to projects. Community growth, that is true. You bring money, higher wages into communities, that allows communities to grow. Generational wealth, certainly. If you have good wages, then you can certainly have generational wealth. So these are all good responses. Thank you for your participation. Let's talk about the benefits that we know have been documented through the years of apprenticeship programs. Illinois Works is designed to expand apprenticeship opportunities for underrepresented populations across the state of Illinois. But why is this so important? It is very important because apprentices earn while they learn. Different than college students where they typically go 3, 4, 5 years before they get a job where they start earning a significant amount of money. Apprentices are actually earning while they're learning. They learn a skilled trade while earning a wage with a sense of job security. And that wage increases as they go through their apprenticeship program. Apprenticeships often serve as an entry point into a career that would otherwise be closed to an individual due to lack of experience. The majority of these trades are, skilled trades, which means that you need to have a certain level of knowledge and experience in order to perform successfully perform those jobs. So through an apprenticeship program, you can enter those trades and develop that knowledge and the skill that you need. Participating in an apprenticeship program provides a lifetime skill and a comprehensive knowledge of the trade. At the same time, apprenticeship training enhances economic security since graduates are often promoted to higher level positions, some of them supervisory positions, some of them actually open their own construction businesses, or some of them go to higher level training in school, be it colleges or graduate schools. The skills apprentices learn are transferable from one employee to an employer to another, and generally from one area of the country to another. So these are the reasons why it's so important to continue to expand opportunities for residents to enter apprenticeship programs. The benefits are significant. Any questions or comments before we move on to the next module of the course? Gia or Christine, do you see any questions or comments in the chat box?
No, there are no comments or questions in the chat.
Great. Thank you very much. Now we're going to talk about the 3 different programs that the Office of Illinois Works is implementing. And again, this is part of your Grantee Manual, Section 1. We're going through Section 1 right now of the Grantee Manual. At the end of the module, you'll be able to list the 3 Illinois Works programs that together create a unique and innovative 3-pronged workforce development model. Also describe each of the Illinois Works programs, the Apprenticeship Initiative, the Pre-Apprenticeship Program, and the Bid Credit Program. Great. So the 3 key programs that we are implementing in the Office of Illinois Works are part of an innovative workforce development model focused on transitioning participants to Department of Labor registered apprenticeship programs in construction and the building trades. And I want to emphasize this. We have received a lot of questions and comments related to this. The Illinois Works Jobs Program Act is the one that dictates what we're doing and how we're doing it. Our main goal and the goal of our providers, including you as a provider, is transitioning participants to Department of Labor registered apprenticeship programs in construction and the trades. That's the industry we're focused on. That's the sector we serve. We are not focused in any other sector but that. And our primary goal is transitioning participants to DOL registered apprenticeship programs. Let's review each of the Illinois Works programs in detail. We're going to start with the Illinois Works Apprenticeship Initiative. That's part of the model that I've been talking about. 3 components to this model. This unique model has those 3 components that serve as 3 critical pieces in a puzzle. The first program is the Illinois Works Apprenticeship Initiative, which creates demand for jobs. This is a very innovative and unique program. And how do we create that demand? This program opens the door of opportunity into the construction industry and the trades. It applies to public works projects with an estimated cost of $500,000 or more, including both capital grants, loans, indirect capital contracts, and awards. It ensures that contractors and subcontractors comply with a goal of 10% of the actual or estimated labor hours of qualifying projects to be done by apprentices. So this very first program, which is already operational, requires that all state agencies that give out money to capital projects, that they establish a goal with their contractors and subcontractors that 10% of the actual or estimated labor hours in those projects have to be done by apprentices. As a result, that creates a demand for apprentices, and as a result, we are creating a pipeline to fill that demand. If you have not had a chance to read the Illinois Works Apprenticeship Initiative Emergency Rules, we will be allowing you an opportunity now to download those rules on your screen through our file transfer feature. So if you want a copy of the Illinois Works Apprenticeship Initiative rules, emergency rules, which are the rules that regulate that program, you have an opportunity now to download it from your screen. As I mentioned earlier, it is the responsibility of state agencies that fund those projects to comply with Illinois Works. But at the same time, the Office of Illinois Works has a team that is specifically focused on ensuring that those state agencies comply. So we proactively monitor each project to ensure that it is compliant with the requirement of 10% of the hours being done by apprentices. As we speak right now, we are watching and monitoring over 1,000 capital projects that are being executed by over 10 different state agencies, and those projects are worth $2 billion, and they are all working towards complying with Illinois Works. The second program that we will discuss is the Illinois Works Bid Credit Program, and this is also another innovative part of this model. Let us move on now to discuss the Bid Credit Program. Whereas the Illinois Works Apprenticeship Initiative creates a demand for jobs, the Bid Credit Program creates incentives to help ensure that Illinois Works Pre-Apprenticeship Program graduates are hired and retained by contractors and subcontractors. And this is very important. It's not just hired. We want to make sure that our graduates are hired, but at the same time that they're retained, that they're given an opportunity to develop their skills, and that they're retained by these employers. Moving on to the next slide, Gia. If the Bid Credit Program incentivizes contractors to hire a diverse pool of candidates by allowing contractors and subcontractors to earn bid credits for use toward future bids for public works projects contracted by the state or an agency of the state. What that means is that when they hire an individual that has completed our pre-apprenticeship program, when they hire and retain them, they'll be able to earn bid credits that they'll deposit in our bank of bid credits, and then they can use those bid credits in the future when they're bidding for new projects so that they can be very competitive in their bids. This program is in the process of implementation, and it will be implemented in spring of 2022. By the time your programs start to produce graduates from your programs, the bid credit system will be in place, and then those bid credits will be connected to those graduates so that contractors and subcontractors can hire and retain them. The last Office of Illinois Works key program that we'll discuss is the Illinois Works Pre-Apprenticeship Program, which is actually the program that you're part of. So whereas the Apprenticeship Initiative creates a demand for jobs, and the Bid Credit Program provides incentives to help contractors and subcontractors hire our pre-apprentices, the Illinois Works Pre-Apprenticeship Program graduates are the diverse pool, the talent pipeline to help fill that demand. It is the last piece of the puzzle that we've been discussing. So the Illinois Works Apprenticeship Initiative, again, creates those opportunities, but we want to make sure that the individuals that take advantage of those opportunities come from diverse backgrounds so that we can increase equity and inclusion in the construction industry. This program is being delivered by 23 providers that are actually present in today's training. Together, this network is made up of 18 community-based organizations, 1 business association, 3 high school-based programs, and 1 community college, and they're all located in 5 different economic development regions in the state of Illinois. Participants of the program will attend tuition-free and receive a stipend and other supportive services to help address systemic barriers which prevent them from entering the construction industry. In summary, what this program does is that it provides skills training through a network of community-based organizations, including community colleges. Preference is given to underrepresented populations that have historically encountered barriers to entry or advancement in public works projects, including minorities, women, and veterans. Also, this is free of tuition. They'll receive a stipend to participate and attend the program. And finally, the first appropriation for Illinois Works to fund this program is $25 million. In our first round of funding, we have issued almost $10 million and anticipate our second round of funding that's coming out in the summer to be $12 to $15 million. So all of these programs combined and together have very particular goals. And here is an outline of the goals of all of these programs. Provide a career pathway for residents of disadvantaged communities. Provide eligible apprentices with the skills for lifelong job security. Provide construction as a viable job industry for women and minority communities. Provide the construction industry with a consistent skilled workforce for generations to come. Create new partnerships between state agencies and community organizations. As you can see, we definitely have a lot of goals. It's a lot of work, but we certainly believe that with your partnership, our efforts and the efforts of countless other stakeholding communities throughout the state of Illinois, we can certainly provide opportunities to state residents, particularly those from underrepresented populations, and ensure that the construction industry is a viable industry for all. Any questions at this point before I move on to the next module in the course? Any questions or comments? Gia or Christine, are there any questions or comments?
Yep, so far there are no questions in the chat.
Great. Thank you very much. We're going to move on now to the next module, which is Illinois Works Pre-Apprenticeship Program Design. After we complete this module, you'll be able to recognize each of the program's design elements and requirements. At the same time, you'll be able to reference fundamental program definitions. Very, very important, again, to understand that the Grantee Manual is the compilation of all requirements of the program, and at the same time, all the recommendations that we're providing. Some of them are not requirements, some of them are requirements, some of them are recommendations. We also include a variety of tools and templates that you'll have access to through the manual and also through the site that we already gave you access to, where we're going to be including all the documents and templates that we have created for the program. The Illinois Works Pre-Apprenticeship Program is a critical component to the success of the Illinois Works Jobs Program Act. Without the Pre-Apprenticeship Program, even if we created a huge demand for apprentices, even if we have a lot of incentives for hire and retain, if we do not have programs that successfully produce graduates that are ready to transition to the UL Registered Apprenticeship Program, we would have failed at this initiative. So as a result, your role in this program is fundamental. It's one of the key roles that we have in the whole Office of Illinois Works. So grantees must offer programs rooted in nationally recognized pre-apprenticeship training model. That's also very important for us. The way Illinois Works was designed is based on nationally recognized practices and also from experience from various stakeholders out there knowing what works and doesn't work with these programs. These nationally recognized elements include outreach, classroom and worksite training, wraparound services, student support services, transition services, and follow-up. Grantees are required to meet all Illinois Work Program requirements and standards following the guidance provided in the 2022 Grantee Manual. And as I mentioned, all of these elements are outlined in the manual. You presently have only sections 1 through 3, but the manual has 14 sections. Before the next course, before the next webinar, you will receive, if not all the rest of the sections, you will receive at least 4 or 5 more sections that outline all of the requirements for the various stages of the program. Using Mentimeter, please answer the question on your screen. Based on your experience and knowledge, what additional elements do you intend to incorporate into your program to best serve the population that you're serving? Some of you are targeting women. Some of you are targeting, veterans. Some of you are targeting minority students. Some of you are targeting rural populations. Please tell us, based on your experience and your knowledge in serving these populations, what other things do you intend to incorporate into your program besides the things that I mentioned a minute ago? Cultural competency, skills, training, and resources. That's great. Interview skills. That's great. Resume building and mock interviews. Great. School-based model. Using a school-based model, that's one of the models that we are testing for Illinois Works. Supportive services, trauma-informed care. Trauma-informed care is definitely a very important component that could be introduced into the program. Strong case management and mentorships. That is great. Social and emotional learning. Definitely very important. Financial management, also very important. It's part of a curriculum. Mental health services, yes, certainly. Particularly now with COVID, mental health services is definitely an added value. Job readiness, that includes financial literacy, sexual harassment, that's great. We certainly want to make sure that we address that sexual harassment piece. Recovery support services, great. Preparing for layoff season, that is great also. Math prep and financial literacy. Math preparation is fundamental, particularly some of the participants that want to transition in some of the trades that require a lot of math. Job readiness, mentoring, financial literacy, communications on the job site. That is great. You got to teach them how to professionally communicate at the job site with colleagues and also their supervisors. Professional services and resources, in-depth local market information on available apprenticeships. That is great information. Trades education is critical, understanding how apprenticeships work, what different trades are. That is great. Soft skills and career advancement. Wow. These are all great components that you are proposing to include. Blueprint reading, definitely part of the technical skills training that will be provided. Very nice job. I appreciate you participating. Thank you for your responses. Some additional best practices that support strong participant outcomes include, and this is very important, we have, as I said, looked at nationally successful practices that we know have worked and worked with other programs. And as a result, some of the practices that we have included on the design of this program includes monetary incentives, particularly stipends to foster retention. Keep in mind that the model that we're going to be implementing when it comes to stipends is a performance-based stipend, which can be effective at supporting participants' financial needs, but also on encouraging high performance and outcomes. We also are emphasizing a focus on equity because, as I mentioned, the Illinois Works Jobs Program Act is focused on bringing equity into the construction industry. Equity goes beyond numeric participant targets. We will discuss in a few minutes equity focus on all aspects of program design and throughout the entire pre-apprentice life cycle, which is one of the models that we have designed for implementation, which we will discuss in a few minutes. The provision of wraparound support, this is very important because this helps deal with some of the barriers, either reduce or eliminate some of the barriers that some of the participants face, and also helps identify what partners can help you support your efforts with wraparound supports. Also, transparency regarding entry criteria. You will notice in Illinois Works, we're very clear from the very beginning what it takes to be part of this program. We will address that criteria as we move forward with the training. Also, clear communication for success requirements. We'll also discuss what the success requirements are and how those are communicated to participants. Strong community engagement and community leadership within the program. as we have mentioned, it's very important to partner with other organizations in the community to support your efforts. Development of technical skills through hands-on activities and work-based learning, that is a requirement of our program, but it's also part of the practices that we know nationally work. Development of math and literacy skills, we know that depending where the participants come from, their math skills may not be at the level where they need to be. So supplemental math instruction and also tutoring is important. It's an important part of these programs. Career pathway and alignment with employer needs and explicit connections to apprenticeship programs. This is fundamental. We do not want to create bridges to nowhere, and we want to make sure that whatever programming we're doing and the transition we're doing is really aligned with the needs in your geographic area of employers and apprenticeship programs, so that participants have a next step in their career. One or more industry recognized credentials and the ability to receive credit towards an associate or bachelor's degree if applicable. We want to make sure that when they graduate from these programs that they have marketable credentials that they can use. And if they do choose after they finish their apprenticeship programs to go to college and get associate degrees or bachelor's degrees or master's degree or PhDs, they certainly have the ability to do that. We want to make sure we promote those opportunities and that these are career pathways instead of just a job. It's not designed to be a job. Given the current COVID environment, leverage innovative and immersive training techniques for participants to learn online and to participate virtually. This is very important given what we're seeing when it comes to COVID. Strong case management, including screening for benefit eligibility, post-program retention supports, mentorship, fostering alumni networks, and preparing participants for construction workplace culture. This is very important. Case management, managing the way participants receive in RSS for benefits is very important. Training for job search skills, resume development, and interview practices. Some of you mentioned that already through Mentimeter. That's great. You're certainly following nationally recognized practices. Offering financial literacy, life coaching, and education. Enhance exposure to and the ability to interact with construction and building trades workers of the same race, ethnicity, gender as participants. This is also very important, and we really certainly hope that you can secure connections for them so that they can feel like they're part of this industry as they start to transition. So these are all nationally recognized practices that we have taken into consideration in the design of Illinois Works. Okay, pre-apprentice life cycle. The Illinois Works, this is the model that I mentioned that was created in the Office of Illinois Works. The pre-apprentice life cycle, it's a very unique model, and we wanted to create something that was concise, that will be used as we went through the manual, but at the same time that was used by the Illinois Works reporting system, which is the platform you have to use to report data real time to us. The pre-apprentice life cycle outlines the steps that participants take as they move through the pre-apprenticeship program. It tracks participants' progress from the initial program outreach to the post-transition follow-up. Each stage demonstrates an integral step in preparing participants to enroll in a DOL-registered apprenticeship program. As you know, transitioning students to a DOL-registered apprenticeship program is our primary goal. That's what we're going for. And as a result, this life cycle, the pre-apprentice life cycle, tracks participants as they come into your program and as they exit the program. Let's talk about program requirements. There's a variety of program requirements, and we're going to go through these quickly because we will be addressing these extensively in the next modules. In Module 2, the Grantee Manual Section 2 and the Grantee Manual Section 3, we'll be addressing each of these, but we're going to cover in summary here some of the key elements. The pre-apprenticeship best practices were leveraged to develop the program requirements for the Illinois Works pre-apprenticeship program. Each of these requirements are necessary for a high-quality pre-apprenticeship program that aims to significantly increase apprenticeship opportunities for historically underrepresented populations. And what I want to emphasize here is that it's very, very clear that we're making these requirements because we truly believe that these requirements will increase our possibility to prepare people to transition to DOL Registrar Apprenticeship programs, but more importantly, to ensure that we bring about equity and inclusion in the construction industry in the state of Illinois. Let's go through each of these in general, and then later on in the next webinars, we'll be talking about each of them specifically with what the requirements entail and what it means in terms of documents and also reporting in the platform. The first required component is outreach and recruitment. We want to make sure that outreach and recruitment is focused on equity. We want to make sure that there is effective outreach and recruitment and that there's also an opportunity for delivery of other instruction. What that means is if someone applies that fits everything else in the program, but they do not have a high school diploma or GED, you could refer them to other instruction through a partner, a community college or community-based organization that may offer GED instruction so that they can secure their high school diploma or their GED so they can participate. This requires obviously partnerships not only for effective outreach and recruitment, but also partnerships for anything else, particularly as it relates to other instruction. Another requirement of the program is wraparound services. Your programs are required to provide a suite of wraparound services. And one of the key wraparound services we're going to be providing is stipends, and performance-based stipends is part of the program. You are all aware of that, and we have negotiated the terms of those stipends for your programs. At this stage, partnerships are also very important because there may be some wraparound services that once you assess the needs of your participants that you are not able to deliver or you don't have the capacity to deliver, but a partner might be able to deliver those. So it's important that you also relate to partners in order to support that. The next required component is student support services. It's very important to keep in mind that as students progress through the program, they may need assistance with tutoring, they may need assistance with retesting, they may need assistance, they missed the class for whatever good valid reason and they need to make up some time. So we need to be able to provide student support services. And maybe at this stage you may need to also partner with some providers out there to help you provide effective student support services. Training is another component that is required, not only the learning through the curricula and the instruction, but also work-based learning and practicums. It's important for them to not only learn classroom instruction, but also be able to practice construction in the field. We also want to make sure that other resources are leveraged in case you need them for training, particularly leveraging a network of trainers that we're going to have and also leveraging the resources that we're making available to accredit your programs to deliver certain curricula. At the same time, it's very important that you have partnerships at this particular stage. You may need to develop partnerships with employers or other stakeholders to secure job sites, hands-on work experience for the participants. Program completion, this is very, very important for us. Outcome measures, not only are they important for your program in terms of your contract, but more importantly, they will tell you how successful you are in impacting the life of participants. And finally, the next component is transition services. And in transition services, it's really, really important that you're able to provide the needed services in terms of career preparation, resume writing, and all of that in order to prepare participants to successfully transition to registered apprenticeship programs and employment. At this stage, you need very strong partnerships with registered apprenticeship programs. You need very strong partnerships with employers, and that's another requirement of the program. And lastly, follow-up services. I have mentioned before, and we will talk more extensively during these webinars, that we are doing a longitudinal evaluation model as part of this program. So tracking participants after they complete the program is very important, and that we're going to be tracking participants up to 10 years after they exit the program to see their outcomes. So those are all the required components of the program, and as I mentioned, we're going to go in depth into each of these and what it takes in terms of documents, in terms of the reporting platform in the next 2 modules we're going to be delivering. Another important thing to mention is that the manual, the 2022 Grantee Manual, has a section on key definitions. Please pay close attention to these definitions. They will be very important as you implement your Illinois Works Pre-Apprenticeship program. Some of those definitions are technical terms specifically defined by Illinois Works. So please make sure that you read those definitions, and if you have any questions or comments about those, that you reach out to us. Any questions or comments before we proceed on to the next section of the manual? GR Christine, do we have any questions or comments in the chat?
At this point, we do not have any questions or comments in the chat.
Great. So moving on to the next module, we're going to be talking about program culture, and this is going to become very technical and specific, so I want to make sure that if there are any questions or comments, please don't hesitate to ask them. In this module, we're going to list the 6 Illinois Works Pre-Apprenticeship Program core values. We're also going to incorporate recommended tools to measure the utilization of the core values. We're going to articulate the impact of an equity focus on Illinois Works program goals. And finally, we're going to discuss the infusion of diversity, inclusion, belonging, and equity into your program's culture, each of the program elements, and each phase of the pre-apprentice life cycle. This is very, very important. And again, this is section 2 of your 2022 Grantee Manual. You already have it there with you, so please follow closely. Using Mentimeter, please tell me, how does your organization define program culture? How does your organization define program culture? Community. Okay, your program culture is defined as community. Great. Anybody else? Rituals. Great. Partnering. Inclusive. Great. Sense of belonging. Great. Supportive. Great. Values. Sense of belonging. Learning environment. Great. Process, how it feels. Great. These are all great responses. Identifying with students, that is great too. Universal support. All great responses. Thanks for participating. A program's culture refers to a program's environment. For our purposes, it is the pattern of beliefs, values, rituals, relationships, and practices shared by Illinois Works program grantees, and the pre-apprenticeship participants. The program culture is key to effective service delivery and participant outcomes. There are 4 core components to the Illinois Works program culture. First is honoring the program core values, and we're going to go those in a minute. Second, tools to measure cultural elements. Third, understanding the impact the Illinois Works equity focus has. Fourth, incorporating diversity, inclusion, belonging, and equity, which is our equity model to ensure that we bring equity, diversity, inclusion, and belonging to the programs, but also to the construction industry. Each of these should be incorporated throughout the program from the initial contact with each participant, emphasized during training, and reinforced while transitioning participants into an apprenticeship program and employment. Let us review all of these in more detail. Using Mentimeter, what elements or characteristics do you think create a positive and impactful pre-apprenticeship program culture? From your perspective, what elements or characteristics do you think would create a positive and impactful pre-apprenticeship program culture? Trust, empathetic approach, great. Mentorship, certainly. Understanding, acceptance, leadership, transparency, support, innovation, seeing people like them, that's great. Compassionate leadership, that's great. All of those are great components of a program culture. We will move on now to review our core program values. Illinois Works identified 6 program core values that are central to creating a positive and impactful program culture. This is very, very important. 6 program core values. Program core values are the foundational ethics and principles grantees are expected to incorporate throughout each phase of the pre-apprentice life cycle. They should serve as a guiding light for behavior and decision-making within the program. Each of these core values is intended to inspire and constrain actions to ensure the program maintains the highest ethics and principles and remains focused on bringing equity and inclusion to construction and the trades. The first value is overcoming barriers. Overcoming barriers, for some reason, I hope you can read them on your screen. They're a little blurry on my screen, but overcome barriers is the first value. The foundation of the Illinois Works program is ensuring equitable access and opportunities to historically underrepresented populations. Illinois Works grantees should focus on building an environment that eliminates or reduces the impact of structural barriers facing participants and celebrates cultural, gender, and ethnic differences. That is overcoming barriers. Second value is empower for resilience and self-sufficiency. Program design and implementation should focus on how participants will complete the program successfully, but also on teaching participants long-term skills that would allow them to build resilience, become self-sufficient, and secure a long-term career. That's the second value, empower for resilience and self-sufficiency. The third value is impact through outcomes. People and programs grow when goals are met and when outcomes are measured. Illinois Works programs are expected to track program and participant metrics and make adjustments to cultivate further success or strengthen weak points. While outcomes are fueled by metrics, it is important to remember that outcomes also measure your program's impact and the difference you're making in the actual lives of participants. It is a measure of your organization and program mission, not simply a number. Again, that's impact through outcomes. Number 4, innovate persistently. Ongoing progress and adaptation allow for long-term success. This value focuses on helping the program and participants develop a drive to continue acquiring and strengthening skills through time. That's the 4th one, innovate persistently. 5th one, build a community of collaboration. Successful learning is rooted in a safe, welcoming, and collaborative environment. Illinois Works program should develop an environment that promotes respect for all participants and staff, practices open and empathetic listening, and attends to the lived experiences of all participants. That was number 5, build a community of collaboration. Number 6, maximize differences. Diversity, inclusion, belonging, equity is more than meeting certain metrics. It is ensuring that each participant feels they belong in the classroom, that their voice is heard, and that their contributions are valued. That is the last value, maximize differences. As you can see, these are the key core values of Illinois Works, and it is our expectation that each of the program core values will be implemented by each of the Illinois Works programs. Each of the core values is rooted in the ultimate goal of your pre-apprenticeship program, which is diversity, belonging, inclusion, and equity in the construction and the building trades. We will talk about diversity, belonging, inclusion, and equity shortly. But before that, let's go on to the next key component of the program culture, which is tools to measure cultural elements. In your manual, you will notice a whole section, a table called Cultural Strategies Measurement Matrix. In there, we cover a variety of tools to measure how you're implementing your core values. Some of these tools are required tools that the program will have, and some of the tools are recommended tools for you. Having core values is great. However, how can you be assured that your program staff and instructors are performing in a way that conforms to those values? How do you know which components of your program are hitting the mark and which ones require improvement? It's very important that you proactively inspect your program's performance. You need to measure to make sure this is happening. Measuring cultural elements can be difficult, but it is possible. And as I mentioned, this table here has a listing of tools that will allow you to do that. Due to a constraint of time, we're not going to be going in detail into each of the tools, but I will mention briefly some of the tools that you can use for each of the program values. To overcome barriers, there is a wraparound service assessment that you can use, and that is part of our system. There will also be a participant satisfaction survey that you can use. You can use the results of that survey to look at how you're overcoming barriers. For the second one, Empower for Resilience and Self-Sufficiency, you could also use the wraparound services assessment. For that, to innovate persistently, there's a performance improvement plan that is part of our system that you can use, and also participant progress reports that are also a requirement as part of our system that you can use to get information about innovate persistently. Next, impact through outcomes. There's a career assessment that is also a requirement as part of our system that you can use for that. The performance improvement plan is another tool that you can use for that, and also the monthly performance reports, which are part of the IWRS dashboard, can be used for that purpose. The other core value is build a community of collaboration. You certainly can use a variety of tools for that. One of the recommended tools is the non-discrimination, harassment, and bullying complaint forms and log. Also, the participant satisfaction survey can give you information if you're successfully implementing that value. And the last one, to maximize differences, you can use the standardized interview that is a requirement as part of the program, and an exit interview, which also is a requirement as part of the program. Those are all tools that you can use in order to know how well you're implementing the core values of the program. At the same time, it is always a good idea to start with investigating evidence-based practices. How have other organizations measured their ability to incorporate their core values? One of the evidence-based practices is to facilitate a working session. So we recommend, as outlined in those tools, to do a working session. It's part of the cultural strategies matrix that we have outlined on pages 30 through 32 of the Grantee Manual. A working session allows you to access the intellectual capital within your organization, tailor the measures to your specific program, and create buy-in among key members of your team. Here are some of the questions that you can ask in a working session. How do you personally exhibit each of the core values for the pre-apprenticeship program? What specific strategies do you employ with pre-apprentice participants to demonstrate each of the core values? What feedback do you get from the pre-apprenticeship participants that provides evidence that the program is having the intended impact? What specific outcomes might indicate that the program is not having the intended impact and new strategies may need to be considered. So again, use the cultural strategies measurement matrix to identify program strategies for incorporating the core values as well as the tools to measure the program's ability to successfully do so. At the end of the day, I think it's very, very important for us to emphasize that those core values are required for you to implement in your program to ensure that we have a program culture that is working towards the ultimate goals of Illinois Works. Also, related to the core values, there may be some questions that you may want to consider as you start to implement these core values into your programs. When it comes to overcoming barriers, is the program inclusive of cultural, ethnic, and gender differences? Number 2, empower for resilience and self-sufficiency. Are the skills being taught in every module going to set up participants for long-term success? What skills or tools will help participants for life? What certifications are offered to make the apprentices marketable candidates for apprenticeships and employment? Impact through outcomes. Some of the key questions you could ask is, how's the program using metrics to adjust training, marketing, and other elements for success? How is the overall program increasing the number of women, individuals of color, and veterans in the construction trades? Innovate persistently. Some of the key questions here is, how is the program helping participants cultivate curiosity and creativity? How's the program staying up to date on industry best practices? How's the program using creativity to meet participant needs? Under build a community of collaboration, some key questions include, are staff and participants taught how to empathetically listen? Our staff and participants offer continued education on key topics like trauma or gender-informed services. What mechanisms are in place to ensure that student and staff contributions are valued? And under the last one, maximize differences, some of the key questions are, what steps is the program taking to not only ensure members of the target populations are present, but that their contributions and voices are heard? How is the program creating a sense of belonging and inclusion? So those are just some key questions you can use to kind of verify how your program is implementing the core values we just discussed. Using Mentimeter, please answer the question on your screen. What tools do you plan to use to measure how well the core values are incorporated into your pre-apprenticeship program? Remember, we mentioned several tools that are outlined on pages 30 and 31, 30, 31, 32 of the Grantee Manual. So again, using Mentimeter, what tools do you plan to use to measure how well the core values are incorporated into your pre-apprenticeship program? Surveys, good. Discussion. Participant satisfaction surveys, I imagine, that's great. Evaluation surveys, that's good. Key to evaluate. Program evaluation during service provision, good. Weekly collective focus groups, that is very good. Discussions, good. Consistent feedback loop mechanisms, consistent input methodology, very good. Performance reports. Focus groups, very good. Focus groups are very good. Consistent surveys. Discussions, participant feedback measured against targets, that's great. Surveys. Discussions, well, I certainly appreciate your participation. Those are all great great items that you're discussing. Please make sure you refer to, again, the cultural strategies measurement matrix on pages 30 through 32 of your manual. A variety of tools are identified there. Most of those tools are actually required tools, meaning that they already exist in the platform that you're going to be using, and they'll be required at certain points in time. And some of them are recommended tools like the sessions that we discussed, the working session. Moving on to the next component of the program culture, the Illinois Works Equity Focus. The third program core element is understanding the impact of Illinois Works Equity Focus. And Illinois Works Equity Focus is the next component of the program's culture. The word equity appears twice when addressing program culture. Equity, along with diversity, belonging, and inclusion, create an environment where participants feel safe, can be fully engaged, and develop professionally. In summary, equity focus requires the ability to demonstrate an understanding of how race, ethnicity, and gender impact individual access to, experience with, and ultimately success within a construction and building trades pre-apprenticeship program, and also the industry, the construction industry at large. Data shows that the construction industry, as well as the trades, have not been accessible for many diverse groups, as we have discussed before. In fact, some of the statistics that were recently produced by the Illinois Department of Labor very clearly exemplify this. It particularly addresses the percent of apprentices employed in the state's construction industry by group. And we can move on to the next slide, please. So I want to particularly focus on the first three statistics. You will notice, according to the Illinois Department of Labor, women are only 4% of all apprentices in the construction industry in the state of Illinois, although they represent almost 51% of the Illinois population. African Americans are only 9% of all apprentices in the construction industry, although they represent about 15% of the Illinois population. Latinos or Hispanics are evenly represented, and they particularly have a different reality because of the immigrant networks that are used to enter the construction industry. But as you can see, women and African Americans are seriously underrepresented in the construction industry. So as you look at those numbers, do you think equity had or lack of equity had an impact on these outcomes? You want to put your responses in the chat, or we're going to do actually a Mentimeter exercise. What might be some of the factors that impact equity in construction and the building trades, particularly in relation to the statistics that we just discussed? What might be some of the factors that impact equity in construction and the building trades? Representation. Accessibility, that's a great point. Awareness, that's also another great point. Do women know about their opportunities in construction? Do all minority groups know racism? There's no question that race plays an issue, right? Discrimination, no doubt about it, bias definitely, and discrimination play a role in this historic underrepresentation of certain groups. Stereotypes and bias, limited to no exposure, that's another great point. Do high school kids find out about the opportunities that exist in the construction industry and the opportunities to enter apprenticeship programs? Accountability, lack stability, nepotism, certainly. I mean, there are some connections, a lot of times the networks in the construction industry work generationally, right, from father to son, and as a result, other people do not have access, right? Educational discrimination, access to education is also fundamental. Well, you certainly have good ideas of how this might work. What we know from research and also from experience is that there are several factors that impact equity in construction and the trades, and those factors include race and ethnicity biases, gender biases, negative perceptions regarding women working in the construction or building trades, knowledge regarding occupational opportunities within construction and the building trades is not available to everybody. Equal access to opportunities for training. Not all have equal access to pre-apprenticeship programs and also apprenticeship programs. A hostile or unwelcoming workplace environment and culture. That's also part of the equation here. So all of these factors obviously result in the equity statistics that we just discussed. But here's what we know. We know that ensuring that underrepresented groups can successfully enter in occupation and construction and the trades is not just about benevolence or even justice, but it's also about smart business. Research shows that closing the gap can add up to $28 trillion. The gender gap can add up to $28 trillion in annual GDP by 2025. Moreover, companies in the top quartile of ethnic and racial diversity at the management levels were 35% more likely to experience financial returns above industry average. So we know those are very key financial incentives. Also, construction is experiencing a significant exodus of skilled labor due to the retiring baby boomers. In out-migration from Illinois, underrepresented populations can effectively fill those gaps. Including underrepresented groups also allows companies to have access to the totality of the available intellectual capital in Illinois. Companies that take advantage of the intellectual capital available to them will also experience the benefits. In other words, what we know is that improving opportunities for underrepresented groups is a win-win strategy for everybody. And that's the reason why Illinois Works is working so hard. The demand for construction workers creates a window of opportunity to increase underrepresented groups' access to jobs in the construction industry and the building trades. Illinois Works' 3 key programs will maximize this opportunity by creating the demand for jobs, creating a pipeline of diverse candidates to help respond to the demand, and providing incentives to help ensure program graduates are hired and retained by contractors and subcontractors. You, particularly as providers, play a critical role in helping fulfill this mission by implementing programs and services that remove barriers, create a welcoming environment, and ensure underrepresented groups are successfully enter these occupations within construction and the building trades. Great. Any comments or questions in the chat before we move on to the last component of the program culture? Any comments or questions in the chat, Gia or Christine?
No comments or questions there. Oh, we do have one. It says, can you speak briefly to, and this is from Donna McCullough, can you speak briefly to what might be done at the industry level to support this initiative, if this is available information? So for example, at the worksite.
Well, at the worksite, as we mentioned, the various programs that we're implementing impact various aspects of the industry. The first program, the Apprenticeship Initiative, impacts contractors and subcontractors because they're required to fulfill certain requirements related to apprentices. As a result, we're also educating them, and we are setting up a whole array of webinars to educate contractors and subcontractors about these initiatives. But also at the bid credit program level, contractors are also being educated about their role that they play, and as they can earn, it's beneficial to them financially because they can earn bid credits, but at the same time, they can play a strategic role. And we are also ensuring that minority-owned and women-owned contractors are an important part of the equation because they can also play significant roles in bringing in equity and inclusion into the construction industry. Great. Moving on to the last component of the culture, diversity, inclusion, belonging, and equity, DIBE. That's our model, and we need to ensure that programs incorporate this into their programming, into each of the phases of the pre-apprentice life cycle. Successful implementation of the Illinois Works Pre-Apprenticeship program integrates diversity, inclusion, belonging, and equity with the goal of fostering an environment that allows individuals to feel safe, participate fully, develop professionally, and reach their fullest potential. The IBE, in conjunction with all 6 of the Illinois Works core values, should be integrated into all program requirements. Let's start first with diversity. A successful pre-apprenticeship program helps create a qualified talent pipeline to fill job opportunities in construction and the building trades with diverse candidates for underrepresented groups. Diversity is defined as the ways in which people differ, specifically talking about characteristics that may include, but is not limited to race, ethnicity, gender, age, national origin, religion, disability, sexual orientation, socioeconomic status, education, marital status, language, and physical appearance. The Illinois Works Pre-Apprenticeship program specifically targets the following diverse groups: women, people of color, and veterans. So diversity is a critical component, but it's incomplete. An effort to increase diversity helps ensure that individuals for underrepresented groups are in the room. So if you put diversity into your program, you ensure that people from diverse backgrounds are in the room. But once they're in the room, the goal is to help ensure that they do not leave, that they're retained, that they stay there. And this requires a focus on inclusion. Inclusion, then, is an environment in which individuals are treated fairly, respected, and have equal access to resources and opportunities. A focus on inclusion ensures participants can fully participate and contribute. While state and federal laws, as well as Illinois Works, require diversity, inclusion is a choice and must be proactively pursued. If they choose to stay in the room, we must have an environment that is conducive for success. As a result, it also requires belonging. Belonging is when participants are able to bring their authentic selves into the pre-apprentice training rooms and work sites. Belonging ensures participants feel valued, allows them to develop positive connections, enhances their sense of well-being, and encourages them to maximize their fullest potential. The need to belong is fundamental to the human experience. Grantees need to take positive actions to make participants feel they belong in the program. Where participants feel like they belong, their voices are being heard, their contributions are valued, and differences are acknowledged and affirmed. And the last point is equity. The last of these is equity. We have already talked about the importance of having an equity focus. Let us take a look at equity through the lens of the IBE. It is important to note diversity alone does not guarantee equity. The goal of diversity is to ensure that underrepresented groups are in the room. Inclusion and belonging helps keep them in the room and cultivate an environment for success. Whereas equality advocates for everyone receiving the same thing, equity recognizes that each person has different needs, presents with different circumstances, and receives resources and opportunities based on those unique needs. So that's the reason why it's so important that our model has diversity, inclusion, belonging, and equity. To maximize the impact and effectiveness of diversity, inclusion, belonging, and equity efforts, and to help ensure compliance with Illinois Works mandates, Illinois Works will provide technical assistance training in the related topics. We will provide a particular training webinar specifically on diversity, inclusion, belonging, and equity. We will also provide a webinar related to understanding barriers to employment in the construction industry. More information related to these courses and other required training is being made available to you through the 2022 TA grantee schedule that was sent to your administrators, and that we will also cover at the end of this webinar. Successful programs require diversity, belonging, and inclusion and equity. Each of these should be infused throughout the entire pre-apprentice life cycle. Any other questions before we move quickly to cover the legal implications?
Yeah, there is a question from Janie. I think you may have just covered it, but I'll read the question anyway. It says, is Illinois Works looking to do this kind of cultural work with the industry, for example, job site harassment prevention training?
We will. One of the things that we want to do is ensure that as we provide training, that you let us know what other topics you would want us to cover, and we'll be more than happy to do that. One of the opportunities that we have is that we will be creating also course materials that you can use to train your own staff and your own students on various topics. So you need to let us know what those topics might be so that we can work on creating curricula that you can use, but also we can train, deliver webinars to you as administrators and as program staff to ensure that you have the necessary skills. Moving on to the next module, legal implications in the pre-apprentice life cycle. After we finish this module, to be able to avoid potential legal consequences by implementing a comprehensive anti-discrimination, harassment, and bullying policy, and develop a reporting and routing process. Identify each phase in the pre-apprentice life cycle. So let's talk about legal implications first. This is part again of section 2 of the manual, which is called program culture. Effective program cultures are free of discrimination, harassment, bullying, or any other form of emotional or physical harm. Not only are these behaviors unethical, many are also illegal and have legal implications. Let us look at each of these definitions. Discrimination is bias or prejudice resulting in denial of opportunity or unfair treatment when hiring, creating, or applying policies, training, promoting, firing, or laying off employees, or any other terms and conditions of employment or program participation. Harassment can be a wide range of unwelcome and offensive behaviors. They usually are repetitive but do not have to be. Bullying is a persistent pattern of mistreatment from others in the workplace or training environment that causes either physical or emotional harm. It can include such tactics as verbal, nonverbal, psychological, physical abuse, and humiliation. Workplace harassment and discrimination is illegal, and individuals' rights are protected by local, state, and federal legislation. These are clearly contrary to the Illinois Works program core values, which focus on empowering for resilience and self-sufficiency, building a community of collaboration, and maximizing differences. We're going to do just one or two case studies, Gia, because we're running out of time, and then we'll continue. So
okay, sounds good.
So we're going to use Mentimeter, and for you to please tell us how you see this case scenario. I think we're at the wrong activity.
Yeah, Normie, can you read the case scenario? Because I think the next screen might give the answer away, so I'm trying to hide it.
Okay.
Yeah.
No problem. So the case scenario is an instructor yells at a participant in front of a class, calling him lazy and telling him that he will never achieve anything. Is that bullying? Is that discrimination, or is that harassment? An instructor yells at a participant in front of a class, calling him lazy and telling him that he will never achieve anything. Is that bullying, discrimination, or harassment?
Okay, you can either put that in Mentimeter or you can put a note in the chat.
We have one response, bullying. Anybody else?
Yeah, and I think
this case scenario.
Yeah, I think actually it's a glitch in Mentimeter, but we are getting comments in the chat. So we have 2 bullying, Carissa and Donna. We have someone who said that they want to know more information before they could say if this was bullying or not. And we have
Unfortunately,
several more comments saying bullying.
yeah, unfortunately, I cannot give any more information at this moment because of the time constraints that we have. But you can certainly go on your manual under the sections where we address this to get more information. So moving on, so we have several people that are saying bullying, and yes, based on our case scenario, this will be considered bullying. The last case scenario is an applicant is redirected. Again, as an applicant, not someone that is part of the program, but an applicant is redirected from the program because it is believed that any physical limitation will be a hardship on the program and the applicant. Is that bullying, harassment, sexual harassment, or discrimination?
Okay, we already have comments coming into the chat. Janie says that is discrimination. Donna says discrimination. So does Clarissa, Rhonda, Mike, Toniki, Dominique, Goldie, Ian, Katrina, thank you.
Thank you for participating.
Okay,
that is definitely discrimination. It is important for you to be aware that the following statutes relate to harassment and discrimination. These are laws that need to be followed. Some of them are federal and some of them are state. Title 9 of the Education Amendments Act of 1972, Title 7 of the Civil Rights Act of 1964, the Equity Pay Act of 1963, the Illinois Human Rights Act, the American with Disabilities Act of 1990, the U.S. Equal Employment Opportunity Commission, EEOC, is responsible for enforcing the statutes in this section, and the Illinois Human Rights Commission enforces state laws. If any of these have been violated, if your program is being accused of a violation, or if a participant or program staff person suspects the violation, you want to be the first to know it, not the last. An appropriate approach can help protect your organization as well as your program participants. The Grantee Manual provides a few tools to assist you in dealing with these matters. As a requirement, you will have to have a discrimination, harassment, and bullying policy for your program. We provide a sample in the manual, and you can modify it as you wish for your program. You just got to make sure that you have a policy. We also provide a checklist, a sample policy and checklist for addressing discrimination, harassment, and bullying complaints. So in case you get complaints, you have a sample checklist there on how to route those. And there's also a complaint form that is provided as a sample. All of these documents can assist you with tracking complaints, investigating these types of claims, and ensuring that you're following a rigorous process to address these. Next thing is program culture and the pre-apprentice life cycle. As I mentioned, this is the model that we use to track participants from the time you first contact them to the time they finish the program. It is very important to understand that it is our expectation that the program culture, the Illinois Works program culture, is infused in all of the steps of this pre-apprentice life cycle. And as mentioned, we will be covering in our next module, sections 4 through 8, which will cover the whole pre-apprentice life cycle. Please make sure that you register for that course, and we will be more than happy to provide all the details related to reporting and also the requirements. Any questions in the chat before we move on to the next module?
There are no questions in the chat.
Very good. So we're moving on to the next module, which addresses partnerships and leverage resources. This is directly based on Section 3 of your Grantee Manual. And after we finish this module, you'll be able to differentiate between partnerships and providers, understand requirements of grantee recipients, subrecipients, and contractors and vendors, utilize strategies for leveraging resources, and collaborations. Partnerships are going to be very important for your program. As you mentioned, you may need to develop partnerships in different stages of the pre-apprentice life cycle, be it at the wraparound service level, be it at the student support services level, be it at the transition services level. But partnerships are very important. And partnerships are typically a formally structured long-term relationship created by entities that work together to address complex issues to achieve a shared goal. Effective partnerships often bring unique capabilities to the relationship to support program outcomes. And some of the key partners you may have to partner with include local workforce boards, local and regional apprenticeship navigators, intermediaries focused on construction in the building trades, unions, community colleges, community groups, employers, employer associations, community-based organizations and churches, secondary schools, and others. We're going to skip this Mentimeter 1G due to time constraints. Partnerships can create bridges that allow you to comprehensively respond to the needs of your pre-apprenticeship programs and participants. So as a result, it's very important that you have an understanding of how DCEO sees partnerships in the context of your grants and also your agreements. It is the expectation that pre-apprenticeship programs provide wraparound services, student support services, and successfully transition participants to DOL registered apprenticeship programs. And as a result, it is important that you understand how partnerships play within the context of DCEO. It may be helpful to clarify DCEO and Illinois Works terms as they relate to partnerships and other relationships. DCEO and Illinois Works acknowledges the following roles within your grants. One is partner, and the second one is providers. Partners are typically formally structured long-term relationships, entities that work together with you to address complex issues to achieve a shared goal. You and your partners both contribute your unique capabilities to the relationship to maximize outcomes. It is not necessary that providers contribute to solving complex issues or even that they have joint strategic goals with you. Providers can contribute by effectively delivering a needed service. They can be an extension of your program service team. An effective provider contributes services that support your program's outcomes per their commitment. Their role is simply to get their job done. So you may have a provider that delivers first aid CPR training, or a provider that delivers OSHA certifications, or you may have a provider, obviously, that provides books and other materials. Those are not necessarily partners. Those are providers that you go and get. Both partners and providers can provide critical support for your program's success. So when it comes to partners, that could be the grantee or recipient, and it could also be a sub-grantee or a sub-recipient. And when it comes to providers, it could be a contractor or a vendor. I'm going to go through some of these technical definitions, and then I'm going to reference you to a particular section within the manual where you can find all the detail things related to each of these. But a grantee is a non-state entity that receives an award directly from the state awarding agency to carry out the activities as outlined in the award, as outlined in your agreement. A sub-grantee is a non-state entity that receives a sub-award for the purpose of carrying out part of the or portion of the state award. The sub-award creates an assistance relationship between the grantee and recipient and the sub-grantee or sub-recipient. The contractors or vendors are non-state entity that receives a contract to provide goods or services for the awarding non-state entity. The contract creates a procurement relationship between the contractor and the grantee or recipient and the sub-grantee or sub-recipient. You could go to section 3 of your manual and find information there about how these relationships play out and the requirements that DCEO has for each of these relationships. I encourage you also to look at a table on page 51 where we summarize those relationships and what the requirements are. talking about a memo of understanding. Many of you likely have memos of understanding in place with program partners. If not, consider prioritizing this task. A memo of understanding is a formal agreement between two or more entities. Although they are not legally binding generally, they do communicate a degree of seriousness, mutual respect, and understanding regarding accountabilities. MOUs are required, this is very important, by DCEO for partnerships between grant recipients or grantees and sub-recipients of grantees. An MOU typically includes, but may not be limited to the following sections: purpose and scope, background, project or curricular program name, responsibilities under the MOU per entity, agreed upon mutual understandings, reporting requirements, record retention, and effective date and signature. If you would like a copy of an MOU, we can send you, we'll make available a copy or a sample MOU now on your screen for download so that you can have a copy for your records. We have a few more minutes before we finish this part of the webinar before Southern Illinois gives their presentation about the technological tools that we'll be using for the program. Very good. So we're including a couple of sample MOUs on your screen for download. If you're interested in downloading them, please go ahead and do that. Even though there are different roles that are considered and that are allowed under your agreement, it is very, very important to keep in mind that it's the grant recipient or the grantee, the one who's ultimately held accountable by the Office of Illinois Works and DCEO. We need to make sure that if you have sub-grantees or sub-recipients that you make them accountable, but it is very important to keep in mind that we will make you, if you're the grantee or the grant recipient, accountable for your agreement and also for the grant we're giving you. If sub-recipients or sub-grantees or a provider is not performing as agreed, they can be removed and or replaced. However, a recipient or a grantee will be held accountable by DCEO. Please note that failure can lead to being placed in the Illinois Stop Payment List. And if you are placed on this list, you will not be considered as a recipient or a grantee or sub-recipient or sub-grantee for any future funding opportunity as long as you remain on this list. And I want to emphasize, because I have been asked this question, if you get put on an Illinois Stop Payment List, you cannot get not just an Illinois Works or a DCEO grant. You cannot get any grants with the state of Illinois as long as you remain on that list. To learn more about the Illinois Stop Payment List, please visit the informational session on the Illinois Works Pre-Apprenticeship NOFO 2021 website, specifically the data pre-qualification webinar where our Chief of Accountability addressed the Illinois Stop Payment List and how that works and how you can get yourself out of that list if you end up on that list. Clearly, partnerships and other relationships can support your ability to respond to each of the program elements and support your ability to achieve your program outcomes. However, it is important to acknowledge that identifying and cultivating successful partnerships require hard work by all parties. And this is very important to emphasize. It's not easy to get partnerships to work, but it certainly can happen. Some of the barriers that we have from experience and also from dealing with other grants and grantees have been able to document and identify include lack of mutual respect, lack of trust or trustworthiness, focus on money and not outcomes, deceptive practices regarding joint goals, poor listening skills, unwillingness to acknowledge or confront issues or challenges, lack of subject matter expertise in areas that are supposed to be capabilities, competition instead of cooperation, hoarding of information, and developing silos. These are all key barriers that we have seen for developing effective partnerships. However, there are ways that we know are effective at reducing barriers to have successful partnerships. And those include proactive, practice active listening, focus on outcomes, create a detailed MOU, acknowledge and confront issues or challenges, freely share relevant information, have regular planning and progress meetings, agreeing on how the work will be done, particularly using the Grantee Manual as your guide, audit by the recipient of the sub-grantees and providers to ensure performance and reporting compliance, and submitting progress reports to be reviewed at progress meetings on time. These are all effective ways that you can use to reduce barriers. There are specific actions and steps that you can use to overcome or preempt some of these barriers. These are some of the steps that we would recommend. Provide accurate and up-to-date information on reports. Deliver reports on time. Deliver services on time. Communicate concerns and issues immediately. If you're unsure, ask Illinois Works. Utilize available resources from workforce development agencies. Utilize Illinois Works available tools. Ensure you're following all the guidance provided in the Grantee Manual. Any questions about what we just covered? Any questions in the chat box?
Yeah, there is a question. There is a request from Charlissa wanting to know if we can do the share transfer again for these sample MOUs, and I am happy to put that back up, Norman, if we have time. If not, I know that we'll also email these documents to the participants. So
yeah, if we could just make a note and then we'll email the document.
Absolutely. Okay.
Okay, great. So moving on to the next part, I just want to remind everybody about the required training. What you see on your screen are modules that are coming up. We have already sent you the published TA schedule, and these are all required courses. The next course that is coming up is the Instructor Accreditation and Program Certification for Nccer, and we'll discuss OSHA and First Aid. Also in that course that's coming up this Thursday. It's not required for all providers to be there, but if you do not have an accreditation or if you don't have a certified instructor, please attend, because our master trainer, Dr. Robinson, will be covering those items that day. The next operations manual course is coming up on the 27th. Then we're going to have an Illinois Works Reporting System, our technology platform course, on the 3rd of February. Then we have another operations manual. That's the last operations manual course on 2/10/2022. And then another Illinois Works Reporting System course on 2/17. And then we're going to start going down very particular topics related to how to address some of the key tasks that need to be done more in depth, a lot of discussion, providing effective transition services, and working with DOL registered apprenticeship programs is the next one. And then there's a variety of other ones that we have sent your way. Okay, very good. We will now proceed to, I'll give it to Gia. She's going to do a quick evaluation of this course. We would love to hear from you. It's very, very important. And I'll be back with a final word after she's done with the evaluation.
Okay, great. So feedback is really important for us. We talk a lot about continuous program improvement and getting feedback, so it is also important for us to practice what we preach. We always request feedback using Mentimeter. You can give this feedback anonymously, so we do not know who says what, which is okay for us because we just want to be able to hear from you. So if you could grab your electronic device or however you are actually logged into Mentimeter, and I'm going to pull up a couple questions in just a second here. And if you could just respond to let us know how we did today so we can make any necessary adjustments for the next session. Okay, so here's the first one. Please share with us your views on this training by rating it using the following: 1 being the lowest and 10 being the highest. And there should be like a little slide bar, and you could just go ahead and use the slide bar. So the three questions are, to what extent did it meet your expectations? How likely are you to attend a similar session? And how likely are you to recommend future trainings? And I will leave this up just for another moment or two for others who would like to share their feedback, and we encourage you to do so. Okay, would anyone else like to share feedback? All right, awesome, thank you. Okay, we're going to go to the next one. This course was relevant to what you wanted to learn about this subject matter, and you can see the Likert scale here, 1 through 5. Okay, we've got 16 respondents. If you could, others please do weigh in. Thank you. We're about at the halfway mark. Any others? Okay, great. Thank you. Let's go to the next question. I plan to apply what I learned. Okay, we're just about at the halfway point. So any others would like to weigh in, we'd really appreciate it. Okay, awesome. Thank you. Just a few more here. What improvements might you recommend? So what is it that you would like to see us do different? I don't know who said a break, and there are a couple breaks, but you are actually predicting where we are heading next. And we can certainly appreciate that because we will take just a moment here in a second. Yeah. Thank you for this feedback. I appreciate it. Let's see. Okay, thank you. More case history. Typically, we do have more practice examples. We're trying to be mindful of our time, but that may be one thing that we make sure we put back in. So thank you for that. Okay. Okay. This is very helpful, and you can continue to add commentary around how we can further improve these, and we'll get that information. Thank you. This might be the last one. So if we make changes, is there anything in particular that we should not change? So if we make adjustments, what is it that you did appreciate and you think we should keep as a part of the session? And this is our last question, and then I will turn it back over to Dr. Ruano. Okay, Mentee. There's an appreciation for Mentee because there's yeah, it's a good way for us to hear everybody's voice. and to get to get valuable information from you. Okay. Okay, we can do that. Here's a request to send out some of the documents prior to the session. We did some of that, but we did not do all of them. So that's something that we can definitely consider. Okay, so please feel free to continue to add your, I know it takes a second to actually type in sentences for this one, so you can continue to provide feedback. I want to be mindful of our time, especially since one of the points of feedback was to make sure the sessions were a little bit shorter. What I'll do now is hand it back over to Dr. Uwano, and if you need to continue to add your comments, feel free. We will continue to get those. Thank you so much. Norman, back to you.
Thank you very much, Gia. So thank you very much for joining today. I'm going to hand it in a minute to Christine. I just wanted to mention they will continue on with the program. I'm sure there will be a break. Southern Illinois University has been our partner in developing the platform that we're going to be using for reporting, which is called the Illinois Works Reporting System, IWRS, and that's what we will discuss next. I want to emphasize, as you already know, that Illinois Works Pre-Apprenticeship program is a structured pre-apprenticeship program model, which means that there are very key requirements, a few key requirements throughout the process that need to be followed and reported on. So I really want to emphasize the opportunity for you to learn all of these tools, ask your questions, make your comments, so that we ensure that we're transferring the knowledge to you and that these tools are effective for the work that you have to do. Again, thank you very much for joining. It's been a pleasure being with you.
We're now going to be joined by Ms. Latoya McCrae. She is the Integration and Training Coordinator for the Center for Workforce Development out of Southern Illinois University. Their team has been essential in developing the Illinois Works reporting system, and Latoya will be our main contact as well as yours for any sort of technical assistance needs regarding the Illinois Works reporting system. She also will be running all of the technical assistance for the Illinois Works reporting system. So you will get to know her over the next couple of weeks. And I will now hand it off to Latoya so she can walk us through.
Okay. Thank you, Christine. I just want to say on behalf of Southern Illinois University, we would like to thank you, Christine and Norman. This has been a great experience for us to help you all in this great endeavor for Illinois Works and the Illinois Works reporting system. So good afternoon, everyone. On the call, we have my colleagues, Natasha Telger, and our programmer on the call. His name is Jonathan, and if we have any questions, they will chime in, or if there's any technical questions, our programmer, Jonathan, will assist you all. So next screen, please. So for this instructional demo today, we're going to give a high-level overview of the Illinois Works reporting system and the various tools that are available to help you in the intake and reporting process of the Illinois Works Pre-Apprentice program. So we'll go over the overview of the system along with how to set up service provider information, and that contains the grants, staff information, training programs and credentials, adding instructors, along with adding worksite information and services. On the hands-on demo, if you do have access to Illinois WorkNet, we'll go over that briefly on how to access Illinois WorkNet to get to the Illinois Works reporting system and how to enter your grantee information. And just to let everyone know, this part of the technical assistance training is solely focusing on the grantee information as it relates to the service provider. Next screen. So an overview of the Illinois Works reporting system. This is again powered and housed in Illinois WorkNet. Some of you have probably worked with Illinois WorkNet on various projects without the state. But for this project, the Illinois Works reporting system will allow grantees and Illinois Works staff to manage and update information as it contains with the participants in the program, along with service providers, and basically the whole cycle of this project, looking at the intake process, training and support services, follow-up reports, and more. So in the system, certain people have certain roles, right? So there are several roles that we have. We have service providers. Service providers have access to grantee participant information and dashboards. The service provider program administrator, he or she will have access to designated participants, grantee information, and specific reports. Program managers, this is more on a regional level. He or she will have access to grantee and customer information and reports. And last but not least, we have super administrators. Those are either Christines and Normans, and they will have access to the entire system where they can see all the grantee information. And again, program managers and super admins access are restricted to only Illinois Works and SIU staff. Next screen. So to access the Illinois Works reporting system, you must go to illinoisworknet.com. Everyone should have received an email from me this past Friday with their screen names to get into Illinois WorkNet, along with a temporary password. Some of you may already have access as a partner, Illinois WorkNet Workforce Partner Access, so you may already see in your email that assigned screen name. So once you log into illinoisworknet.com, going to log into your account, and as you can see from the screenshot, you will see the tab that says My Dashboard. So when you click on My Dashboard, you will see on the right hand of the screen, Customer Support Center. The Customer Support Center houses all our projects as it relates to customer groups. In this case, our customer groups will be assigned to your specific provider, and this will help us to enter in information there. So once you go there, you will click on the Provider Info tab and select Grantee Details and select the specific project, which is Illinois Works, and your assigned provider. Next screen. So in Illinois Works, you'll have access to various tools in the system. So today, as I stated before, we're only focusing on the grantee tools. Also, there's tools for participant recruitment and engagement. That's basically the intake process for those that's interested in the Pre-Apprentice project program, and those that say, yes, I want to participate, and they meet all the requirements. So in that tool, you'll be able to complete recruitment information along with applications and intake. And again, the participant recruitment and engagement goes hand in hand with the participant recruitment and engagement. That's the typo, so the management. And basically, you'll have, it goes hand in hand to make sure that you provide any providers along with engagement with those participants in the program. Next, we have tools that's related to training and services. So the various trainings and modules that the participants will partake in, along with the services that they need to make sure that they successfully complete the project in the program. Also, case notes and follow-up. This allows the program service providers to track the progress of the participant, any notes, and that participant can see those notes and any follow-up that he or she may have. And last but not least, we have reports just to see how many people have completed a particular training, along with receiving report cards, or how many people are successfully completing the program or need some assistance. Next screen. So on a grantee screen, you have information that allows you to add and update basic grant information and summaries at a glance. You're able to upload any documentations, whether they're in a Word document or PDF, anything that's related to the provider and training programs and services, information that is being tracked throughout the system as a whole. Next screen. So the first section of the grantee screen is Grantee Information. So in the Grantee Information screen, service providers will have access to add and edit grant information. This information includes grantee address, grantee program name, grantee number, basically when the grant has started and the end date and the amount given. And again, this information will probably be verified by the Illinois Works staff prior to completion. Next screen. Staff and training programs. Service program provider administrators have access to add and edit staff information and update organization training program information. So any trainings that the program may have, they can add that there. So as I slow down for a bit, I have a few questions in the chat. So someone stated by the name of Janie, sorry if I'm pronouncing your name incorrectly, I am totally lost trying to get on. Can you repeat how to get from my dashboard to the system? Okay, so can we go back, Gia, real quick? It says accessing the system.
Here or further back?
Keep further back.
Okay.
In the first couple of screens. Keep going. And to Betty Jones, yes, this PowerPoint presentation will be accessible to you all after this presentation, and I'll show you where that will be located very soon. So, Janie, to access the Illinois Works reporting system, again, log into your Illinois WorkNet account and click on My Dashboard. And when you click on My Dashboard, you will see Customer Support Center under Partner Tools. And when you click on Partner Tools, okay, all right, so we'll talk offline regarding that. She doesn't have access to that. We'll talk offline and get you access. Thank you, Gia, for going back with us. If you can forward to the most recent screen, and I'll let you know.
And LaToya, I have another question
Okay.
that was sent privately. It sounds like some others are also finding that they're not able to access the grantee details section. Is it? Mm-hmm. Is that perhaps a privilege issue on the SIU side that we just need to open that up for them?
So to answer your question, the list that you sent us, they all should have access to the grantee screen. Okay. But if there are additional attendees on this presentation that may not, we may need their information to give them access if granted by your staff.
Okay, so everyone that should have access to what LaToya is speaking about right now will be a program administrator. So if you're finding that you do not have access, please either email myself or LaToya, and we will make sure to get you program access. Your program administrator should have access already, but we can get all program staff access as well if you don't have it now.
Okay. And also Christine and everyone on our end will double check the accounts as well. So we just went over staff and programs. Next screen, instructors. So if you have any instructors that are teaching a particular module, on this screen you can add and edit instructors' information. So their name, the organization that they are associated with, their address, the type of training he or she will be providing, and any credentials after taking the training. And basically, it just lets us know that those instructors are providing those trainings as well. Next screen. Worksite information. This allows you all to assign employers and also work sites based on pre-apprenticeship as it relates to construction. If there's any employers that have these opportunities for them, and so if you have this information on the worksite placement tool, it allows you to identify those work sites, and you can put in information regarding the employer, the worksite placement, how many positions that employer has available, and also there's a tool within worksite placement on payroll, entering that information as well. Next screen. Services. So the services tool allows you to enter the various services that are available to your participants. And basically, when you add these services, it goes hand in hand with the participant's career plan. So basically tracking the various services that he or she may have. And as you can see on the screen, you can add the service name, a brief description about it, if it needs to be approved by the Illinois Works team. And we also have a catalog or a collection of the various services as well as you tailor your particular program. Next slide, please. So again, Illinois Works partner page. Someone in the chat asked previously, do we have access to this PowerPoint? So Gia, if you can pull up the website.
Yes, I can. Let me confirm that you can see it. In 1 second. Can you see it?
Yes, thank you so much, Gia. So the Illinois Works partner page is kind of like your one-stop shop for all the resources and tools that you will need for the pre-apprentice program. So as you scroll down, we have all resources. And so when you see access to Illinois Works reporting system, if you click on there, that's another way to access the system without going through the step-by-step process going to Illinois WorkNet. It will direct you straight there. Also, video tutorials and training materials. So this training that we have today, it will be available, give us by tomorrow, to have the video uploaded on this page along with the supporting documents. So you will have the PowerPoint presentation along with the video recording. Full list of resources. Can you click on that, Gia? Thank you. So the full list of resources is basically divided by specific subjects or topics along with this project. So getting started, we have instructional guides for you to how to access Illinois Works reporting system, and we have how to upload files, grantee details, and more detailed information on those particular screens. So we have the instructions there for you. And so once we build out, this is again a work in progress page. So as we go over other technical assistant trainings, you will see that information displayed here. Can you go back up, Gia? And again, you went to that. Okay. So again, here we have the technical assistance. This gives you a calendar of all the events or webinars that the Illinois Works team will have by date, time, and a topic. So again, if you see anything when it comes to the technical assistance training, you'll see a hyperlink actually to register if you have not done so yet. Can you scroll back, Gia, to the very top of the page? So that is the Illinois Works Partner Guide. And again, the address of the guide will be located on the PowerPoint presentation. And Gia, I think we can go back to the PowerPoint presentation.
And Latoya, I have a question in the chat. So they're wondering, just to get a point of clarification, do they use their new login, or will this be linked to their current Illinois Works login information?
Okay, yes. So as stated before, if you check your the email that was sent out on Friday, some of you may have new accounts because you didn't have an Illinois WorkNet account, and so we assigned you a screen name along with a temporary password. If you already had an Illinois WorkNet account, the screen name will be the same, and it'll just be a temporary password. So please refer to that email that was sent out on Friday, and please, if you can confirm if you've received it. That went out Friday afternoon. Any other questions?
A question came in. They're searching through the email. What address would the email have come from, Latoya? Would it have come from you?
Yes, everything was sent by me. My email address, I'm going to put it in the chat, but I'll say it also out loud. It's Latoya, LATOYA.com. I'm sorry, Latoya.mcrae@siu.edu. So next steps in this process. So Illinois Works staff will review after you have entered in all of your grantee information. The Illinois Works staff will review and approve your service program provider grantee information. And then next steps, for the service program provider administrators, they will identify backup administrators just in case you may be out on vacation or you won't be able to access the system at the time or just need additional assistance on your team. And so I also noticed that in the chat, some of you all were requesting to have others be a part of your assigned group. Please, I recommend that you email myself and Christine and Norman, but normally our process to access information to various systems in our Illinois WorkNet Customer Support Center is to send an email to info@illinoisworknet.com and then copy Norman and Christine on this. Okay. And Christine's email should be, I believe that should be given to you all already. So again, if you're requesting access for additional staff in your program, just make sure you email copy myself, Latoya.mcrae@siu.edu, and copy Christine and Norman in here. Next screen. And again, if you have any technical questions or you run into something that you may need additional assistance, please contact me again. My name is Latoya McCray, and the email is here on the screen, latoya.mccray@siu.edu. And that is the end of the presentation. Does anyone have any questions at this time?
So I don't see any additional ones on my end in the chat, but I do just want to make a point. So the emails that were sent out by Latoya on Friday were sent to program administrators. So those individuals were the individuals that were listed on the grant application. Anyone else who's getting service provider level access will either be added by our team or they will be added by your program administrator. So just in case you didn't see in the chat, after this presentation today, I'm going to be sending our list of participants over to SIU to ensure that everyone has proper level access. So if you don't have access right now, don't worry. We will be taking care of that as soon as we can.
Christina, it looks like there is an additional question in the chat from Mike. And I can just go ahead and see it. It says, is time staff are made to spend on this, consider the factor in designing this, how much time it takes from candidates. So it's for the little statement, but it's a question.
Yeah, I'll field that one because it's regarding the design of the program. So I think what Mike is trying to communicate is the data entry aspect of this possibly taking time away from participants. So the amount of time that is spent on entering data in this program, it will vary depending on where you are in the process. So at the enrollment stage or at follow-up stage, the data entry will be a little bit lighter. During instruction or application, the data entry will be a little bit heavier, but it was taken into consideration. The reason that we're tracking this in such a detailed manner is because all of the data that is put into this system is directly linked to outcomes and if your program is achieving outcomes. So there's a way that we can live monitor programs instead of doing a quarterly or an annual audit. Likely learning the program up front will have a slight learning curve, but based on the system and what you'll be taught on over the coming weeks, it won't end up taking that much time on a weekly basis. It's just going to take a little bit of time to learn the program. So I would just ask you to kind of bear with us. Once you learn it, it will go a lot faster. I hope that answered your question, Mike. Great. Well, Latoya, thank you so much for joining us today. That is going to conclude our presentation. As I said, I will be following up with SIU to make sure that everyone has access. If you have any questions at all, please feel free to reach out to myself. I'll put my email in the chat again, or you can reach out to Latoya directly about the Illinois Works Reporting System. Thank you all so much, and we look forward to seeing you in coming training webinars.